Well, if there's ever a time for your second best player to suffer an injury, for Philly, now would be the time. Over the next 10 games, they play 7 games against bottom feeders in the league. They have 2 games in LA against the 2 LA teams, but those games are sandwiched around Cleveland, the Knicks, the Kings, the Warriors, Detroit, Washington. So I think Philly's not going to plummet in the standings. They might actually rise a bit in the standings because they're in that quagmire in the middle of the Eastern Conference. But I want Joel Embiid to be one of my favorite players. Going into this year, I thought he would be one. I thought when you go 27.5, 14 rebounds a game last year and your team is this close to maybe making the NBA Finals, certainly this close to making the Eastern Conference Finals, I expected Joel to take the next step and if you're going 28 and 14, the next step's 30 and 15, and that is the step where you are one of the 3 best players in the league, maybe the best player in the league. And instead, he took a step back. And instead, he flirts with the idea he's the best player in the world and then gets embarrassed by the actual best player in the world. And then against a terrible Atlanta defense, he shows you all the different things he can do. And he preens and he does his Joel Embiid stuff, which I actually really like if you are getting not 49 every night, but if you know what you're going to get from him every night. So that's a long way to not answer your question. Do I trust Joel Embiid? The answer is no, I don't trust him. I want to trust him, and I know how good he can be. And when he's feeling great, Sarah, he can do things like this and he can be one of the most fun players in the league. But to be one of the 5 or 6 best players in the world, which he should be, you need a level of consistency that at this point in his career he hasn't demonstrated, certainly not this season.
And I would say that is partly because of health and just not knowing how much he's going to be on the floor. To me, I can't necessarily rely on this Philadelphia team as a whole. And when you ask, can you rely on Joel Embiid to help them take a deep playoff run or a playoff run, I think the biggest question has always been about this team. They've got such a high upside, but the fit between Joel and Ben Simmons. I love Joel Embiid as a player. I love Ben Simmons as a player. I don't love them together as a player, and I think a lot of people, you look at the numbers even, and it's amazing that you have 2 extraordinary players that on the floor together, the numbers are so different than when they are on the floor on their own. I think the one positive for Philadelphia, take a look, I think getting home court and getting one of those top 4 seeds, or the 4 seed, I should say, they're a half game now behind Miami.
Right.
It's going to be critical. Both you could say about Miami and Philadelphia, but play so much better at home than they do on the road. Additionally, I kind of like this I don't know if Elton Brand in the front office of Philadelphia is looking at it. I kind of like the fact they're going to have an opportunity to take a look at the team and what it looks like without Ben Simmons.
So that's really the most important part of this because, and I know that's where you were going to go, Jenna, because the Sixers, listen, the season's not over. But their championship, to me, aspirations are. Like, this is going to be a lost season. I wonder what it means for Brett Brown. And I know today, after a day when Joel scores 49, it's not what Philly fans want to hear, but it's the reality of the situation. The silver lining for them is the Brett Brown decision this summer might be an easy one. Should we move on from one of our 2 foundational pieces is a much, much more difficult one. But you are now going to get a free look. You are now going to get a free look at what could this team be if we moved Simmons, which to me is the far more likely piece to be moved. I think moving Joel would be insane because he does have league MVP upside and because his issue is health and maybe conditioning as opposed to a refusal to do a fundamental basketball thing like shoot the basketball. And so to see the Philly team without Simmons for a month, when Joel knows it is time for a playoff push, what Joel and Tobias Harris look like as a 1-2 punch when Tobias is paid like he should be able to be a competent secondary option. What the team looks like where it has more spacing in crunch time because whomever is out there playing de facto point guard is going to give you more spacing than Ben did. I think that actually could be very instructive for the team as far as their future plans because I don't see them having the ability to go on a deep playoff run this year even if Simmons comes back healthy.
And to me, Joel looks like, sorry to cut you off, Jenna, a more motivated player when Ben Simmons is not on the floor with him. And I think to your point, just the question too about this team with Jimmy Butler having been gone, who's the closer? Who's the go-to guy at the fourth quarter? I think this unlocks a lot of the potential of some of these other players and how they attack things in the closing minutes of games when Ben Simmons isn't available. And I'll say it again, I love Ben Simmons as a player. I think he's going to continue to improve, continue to get better. But I think in the construct of what this roster looks like with Philadelphia, it is very hard to maximize both he and Joel to the best of their ability.
And that's why it's a blessing in disguise. You talk so much, what's the problem with this team? They're so inconsistent. Joel Embiid, so inconsistent. Some nights he'll score whatever, 49. Other nights he'll come out and score nothing. Now you finally get a chance to see, like you said, what he can do.
Like, I know I'm supposed to be mad about it. This is the type of thing I can't pretend to be angry about it. I think there are going to be a lot of people that on television will be mad about it, and then on field, like, I don't care. Like, but I'm not going to be that. Listen, Joel, I think this is one of the fun things about Joel Embiid, that if he gave us more consistent play, would be more endearing than when it's...
But he's supposed to be the guy. It's his team. It's his team. He's the guy. You can't be... You don't like something at the end of the game. You're going to flip him off? That's where the league's going? Curse him out next thing?
I don't want to change the top. I was more interested right before him apologizing. He kind of walked back the fact that he said he was the best player in the world. The beginning part of that interview, Serena Winters, who does a great job on the Philadelphia sideline, she said, so greatest player in the world? And he said, well, I meant on, on any given night. And there's a lot of great players, and I want. That's what I was. I'm like, Joel, if you're going to say it, say it. Well, he just scored 49.
And if you do listen back to the first time he said it, it was. You can understand the context of he was kind of prodded along saying it the first time, and so I understood that him trying to walk it back tonight a bit, especially because of what just happened against the actual best player in the world, Giannis. But listen, the middle finger, you say, his next thing are they going to do is curse him out? Yes, Jenna. That happens in every NBA game all the time.
How often, too, do we see the verbalization of what the middle finger means?
Yes, of course.
To me, that's
to the referees in anger.
You're not getting me off this corner. You can't just be giving guys the finger in the middle of a televised game. You can't do it.
Well, quite literally, you can, because he did. And the question is, does it bother me? The answer is no. Like, again, what about the children? I'm so concerned about the children. The children will be fine, America. Like, there's going to be no,
come on, there's some standards in the league to uphold. You play, you're grown men, this is your job. Something doesn't go your way, you give him the finger.
But I feel like it was clearly in jest. It was clearly, it was at the end of a game. This is the type of thing that will never bother me. It will never bother me. Do you think Kevin Huerter's feelings were hurt?
No.
Like, does Kevin Huerter need
an
apology
regret it. And I don't mind
basket?
that Kevin Huerter did that.
No,
All right, I'll be alone on this corner. I'll let you guys have
Protect the children.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.